I was always told that art doesn't make money and I should only be doing this for fun. And then when I was 8, I happened to paint some flowers and a hummingbird that I saw just like on TV or whatever. And one of my neighbors on their walk saw it and bought it for a few dollars. I think it was like $5. And that was my first ever art sale. I bought ice cream with it from the ice cream man and I was hyped. This is how people should live.
Money is a social construct.
But we're not gonna get into that. We're just gonna be painting some oranges from that same neighbor's yard and gifting it to them. But first, I asked my Instagram followers to guess what I was painting for the day. And y'all really didn't have faith in me? You really guessed that I would be doing nothing? Those are the shenanigans you will find on my Instagram. And I post on my story pretty regularly nowadays, so you should follow me. But anyways, here I am doing what I said I would and painting stuff for my neighbor. I'll be using this jelly cup gouache for this entire painting. Honestly, I do not really like this set. I have a lot of gripes with it and I don't want it to go to waste. So I decided to just make some fun doodles with it, and this painting was the result of one of them. And the thing about gouache that you have to know when working with it is that the ugly stage can last a very long time. And what I mean by that is your base layers tend to not look like anything that even remotely resembles your end product that you have in your head. And that's okay, you just have to push through. And I hate saying trust the process, but you kind of have to trust yourself and that things would look semi-okay as you go, because you're just adding a lot of different layers of undertones and shading and whatnot. So this painting's gonna look a little dookie at first, and it might take a little while, but with some work and persistence, you can push through. And this will eventually look like something I would be proud enough to gift to a stranger, because I've never actually met my neighbor, like, at least not as an adult. Anyways, I am a plant girly, or I wish I was a plant girly so bad. Like, I grew up with my parents who gardened a lot, had fruit trees, had like different kinds of flowers. My grandparents also gardened. And me, I can't keep a succulent alive for my life. So I personally do not own very many plants or take care of any plants. But I do like painting them, and so on my walks or whenever I go out and I see plants and flowers, I want so badly to be able to like take care of those things. But because I know I don't have that green thumb or whatever, I just take reference photos of it so I can appreciate its beauty to later paint in things like this. And so I was going through my reference photos and I remember coming across this orange tree and I was like, I should paint that. And here I am, painting that. So I'm not actually following my reference photo. I kind of just make it up as I go. I observe the shapes and tones of the leaves mostly because I don't know exactly how to draw them in abundance. And I didn't want to draw every single leaf. There were so many leaves on this tree and no flowers, just fruits. And a lot of fruits, so I decided to paint the background to be blue and purple, things I really like as undertones, and then I start painting the undertones of the oranges in yellow, as you see, some leaves in some like atrociously bright green, and then here I am adding the second layer. It looks like caca, but that's okay. I made the mistake of using a more green shaded blue for the background here, and I'll eventually figure things out. But at this point, I'm not panicking. I'm just looking at this like, I hope I'm not wasting my time. I really want to enjoy painting this, and I really want the end product to look semi-okay because it's been a while since I painted with gouache. And I don't want to have to blame the mediums that I'm working with on how bad the painting turns out, but I actually really like it. So in this last cut, you see that I painted over the blue with the sky blue to give more contrast to the oranges. And I decided to keep the lavender as a gradient for like the difference in the vertical. I don't know. I just really like the composition of this particular branch. And here I am defining the leaves. And I swear these oranges don't look juicy enough to me yet, so I gotta keep working on them. I gotta add some texture, some highlights, and those are to come. But that background gave me such a big headache to figure out. Like, I want the oranges and the leaves to pop, but yeah, they're not. It's not giving. Do you guys like fruits? Because I grew up eating so much fruit. Like, getting cut fruits from your parents was their way of saying, I love you. And so, cut fruits are my love language. And I love almost every fruit there is. And it just gives me the satisfaction of painting them to make them look juicy and give them that oomph. So I have a lot of layers of these oranges, trying to get the tones right. I want to make them look like they're ready to be picked and juiced right away, or cut for someone that I love, you know? Watching me paint this as I edit it and do the voiceover is kind of trippy. Like, I can see a lot of hesitations in my brush strokes, and I could see that the color choices I'm doing, if I can go back, I would tell myself to not pick up the paint straight from the palettes, because I think that's how you ruin your paint. Or the painting. I guess both, because they're jelly cups. But okay, so my reasoning is, if I mix a lot of different paints, it tends to look muddy. So I like try to just be basic and use what colors came with the set. But they don't always work together. Like, some tones are way too cool when I'm looking for something more warm for this painting, which I realize now that this palette itself is extremely on the cool tone side. And I'm not sure if that's the color theory effect because of the green case it came in, but I'm trying my best to not muddy up the paint in the jelly cup and instead mix it on either the side palette, like the lid, or on the painting itself, so you can see some contrast. And I love that painterly look when you can see each brush stroke. But there's also something so satisfying of blending things. I'm sure it's the same for like girls who do a lot of makeup regularly, where you kind of use your beauty blender and just like dab 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 all over your face. But I don't know, I don't really do makeup. I guess my only other time that I blend a lot, I'm trying to think, it's literally just me patting in my skincare every night, I guess. As you can see, this painting is finally starting to come together. These oranges actually look like oranges, kind of, maybe peaches or apricots. But here I am slowly adding a little bit of detail at a time. I am reworking the background. I'm defining each leaf, adding a little bit of shading and some veins in them to make them look less like a drawing and more like photorealistic. I'm also experimenting with different angles of my camera, so excuse like the weird angles here. I'm still trying to get used to using a tripod for my phone, which I filmed this with. And the only place that it fits on my floor next to me is right above my dog's bed that he sleeps in. And when he hangs out with me in my room as I paint, he hates this thing. Like, sometimes one or two of the legs are on his bed, and he's so territorial. Like, my little chihuahua is always like, bruh, can you not. And like one time he actually barked at me and then he stormed off into his daybed in the living room instead because he couldn't handle me being in his personal space for the sake of recording my process. He'll get over it. He's my high earning creative director in a way. On our walks, he tells me where to go, when to cross the street, and I always have to reel him in and say, please stop barking at strangers. You're not very well socialized. This is why you don't have a lot of friends. And I feel so bad for my friends that do visit because he's not friendly to most of them. Maybe like to two different people who come over often. And everyone else he treats as a threat to his livelihood. So I've been working from home for the past 2 years. And something that I learned really quickly is that if I don't get my walkies in, even just for myself, my mental health declines and I kind of just zone out and become a couch potato, either playing video games or watching TV, and I kind of just start numbing my own thoughts a lot. And I feel like that's also partly one, not getting enough physical activity throughout the day, and two, not giving my mind some rest, giving my eyes a break from the screen. And then three, probably vitamin D deficiency. I'm someone who really avoids the sun. Like, I need to slather on so much sunblock before I go outside every day. I guess as humans, we are more like plants than we thought. We need to be watered, we need to have nutrition, and most importantly, we need some sunlight, you know? If you see a plant, you should paint it. I feel the same way about certain humans in my life. I also really like to paint portraits, with their consent, of course. But I guess I see the beauty in so many moments, whether that's laughter from some inside jokes, food that I'm sharing with friends for the first time, and experiences with the people you love around you. And life is just so beautiful lately, and I love it. Here's something satisfying from me to you. And there you have it, a painting of my neighbor's orange tree. What do you think? I like it. So I walked on over to my neighbor's house. I rang their doorbell twice, and guess who pretended to not be home? They did. So what should I do with the painting? Quite a few of you guys suggested I burn it. Find out on the next episode of the Arrtx Diaries. Okay, thank you, bye!